Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aspen Author webinar series. Today's topic is Connected Quizzing and the MBE course. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping items to review. The audio for this webcast is through internet only. Please use a headset or earbuds or listen to this presentation through your laptop or mobile speakers. This is a one-way communication channel. You can hear us, but we can't hear you. So if you have any questions, please use the chat feature. And now I will hand it over to Lisa to introduce today's presenters.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I am Lisa, the Program Manager for the Connected Quizzing Formative Assessment Program. I'm being joined by Professor Ashley London, the Director of Bar Studies and Assistant Professor of Legal Skills at Duquesne University, and Stacie Goosman, Aspen Publishing's Managing Editor for the Bar Review course area. Today, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking to you about what Connected Quizzing is, how the program works, and then Stacie will discuss the new MBE course within Connected Quizzing, and then Miss Professor Ashley London will share her insights into a formative assessment using Connected Quizzing and the new MBE course as well. So what is Connected Quizzing? Connected Quizzing is an award-winning formative assessment tool designed to improve student engagement and outcomes. We originally developed Connected Quizzing to help schools and professors meet the ABA guidelines around formative assessment and measuring learning outcomes. Remain very interested in the program due to the insights gained and being able to continue to keep students very engaged in their course. Connected Quizzing features high quality, multiple choice questions is in an easy to use quizzing platform, and you can receive actionable results reports that provide great insights to both the learner and the teacher. You will access Connected Quizzing at your casebookconnect.com account as shown on your screen, and this is where you and your students access our ebooks as well as other learning materials from Aspen Publishing. At the website, you log into your account and it takes you directly to your bookshelf. On the bookshelf, you see you have your ebooks and other programs. On this, you see the Connected Quizzing icon in the upper left, and to access, simply click on the icon. This will take you to your Connected Quizzing dashboard. On this dashboard, you see the MBE course. I also want to point out a couple of other tips about the screen. In the upper right is a green box for the Quiz Concierge link. That is a help button for professors to use, whether you need assistance in scheduling quizzes or customizing. That is there for your use. You'll also notice that the quizzes for the MBE course are shown in different colors. Each color designates the status of a quiz. So a bright blue, such as the simulation quiz 1, is one that is not yet set to be used by students. Once it is assigned or scheduled to be used to students, it turns into the light blue color, and you'll notice about the.
Okay, I think Lisa is having technical difficulties, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. As she was saying, the bright blue, that means that the course has not been assigned or accessed. The light blue indicates that it has been assigned, and the, what do I call that, tan, gray, that indicates that this quiz has been completed. Go ahead, Lisa, you're back.
Thank you. Thanks for stepping in, Stace. So she covered that well. The colors indicate the different statuses of our quizzes. When you're ready to look at a quiz to assign it to your class, you simply click on the quiz and it opens into the preview of questions. Here you can see the simulation quiz 1. You see that there are boxes tabbed in the upper left of the actions you can take on the quiz. When you want to view more detail, you can click on the Expand All button, which will open the questions, now showing the answer choices with the correct answer marked, as well as rationale that explains why correct answers are correct and incorrect are incorrect. And also there is a cognitive skill and topic label provided to assist you with any reporting you might need to do. Once you have viewed the questions and you've chosen to assign the quiz to class, in the upper left, you click on the Assign tab, and it opens a box in which you fill in when to open the quiz, when it starts for your students, the day and time, when you want it to end, day and time, as well as when you want the students to receive their detailed results. If you're using the quiz as a graded quiz, most often you will leave the radial marked for after quiz end date so that students are not receiving answers immediately. Upon submission, when you have determined that they should receive the results after the end date, they will still get a response letting them know their quiz was received and what their overall grade is. If you are using this more as a formative assessment tool for the student's own use, or for credit, you can click for the upon student submission, and then they get the results with the details immediately upon their submission of the quiz so that they get their study materials most quickly. Once the quiz is assigned to the class, they get an automated notification, so you don't have to make an extra step to let them know. As a quiz is being completed by students, your results fill in as it goes. So when you open a quiz that is either currently open to your students or completed, it will open directly in the results screen as shown on this shot. Again, you'll notice that the tabs offer different actions that you could take, such as ending the quiz or editing the details, but it will automatically open to results so that you can see how your students are progressing. The results report is shown in 3 segments. In this top section, shows overall class performance. The top part is simply a bar graph showing your low, average, and high scores, and then you have a distribution chart of the same. The center section of your report shows the class results by question. In this shot, you will see the display by question order. It can also be changed in your sort by dropdown so that it is arranged topically. In this section, professors always appreciate seeing where their students struggle. In this case, question 10, you see only 20% responded correctly. You simply click on that question and it opens to show the full question, the answers, and how many students by percentage answered with each solution choice. In this case, we see that 60% answered incorrectly with option C, which indicates that might be a topic that you will want to cover in your next session with your students. The last area of this results report will give you same information by the student. So if you have one-on-one time, you have that information at hand. Basically, you just saw connected quizzing formative assessment in 5 easy steps. You visit the website, click onto your icon for connected quizzing, view the class quizzes, then you click on the quiz, you click on assign to class, fill in the dates and times, and then it is deployed to your students. It is as easy as that. After that, all you do is view your results. So now let's hear from Stacie about how the MBE course for bar review works within the program.
Thank you, Lisa. So managing the bar list, I speak to bar directors all the time, and they're constantly in need of resources to help their students prepare for the bar, right? So we decided, since we have this wonderful formative assessment tool that's customizable and flexible, it would be a good idea to create a course for the MBE. So Alex Rascal from the University of South Carolina wrote the questions, and these questions are modeled after actual bar questions. These questions were also reviewed and vetted by Ashley London, our guest speaker today. It's addressing a specific need in bar courses and easing the workload for professors who teach the course. There's 200 questions, all MBE style. There's also 2 100 question quizzes that are pre-made for ease of preparation or use. Flexibility in the implementation into your course, and it covers all bar tested course areas. So now I will go ahead and pass it off to Ashley to talk about how she uses connected quizzing and address any questions that you might have.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who joined us today to learn about this really great formative assessment tool. So, why connected quizzing? I don't have to tell any of you here about the ABA. We just finished our recent site visit here at Duquesne. So all of the ABA standards are fresh in my head. And we know ABA standard 314 tells us that we need to use formative and summative assessments, which I know, no duh, we're all legal educators. We know we need that because we want to facilitate long-term student learning and retention of the material. And that is why I have used connected quizzing in this context. And I have to say, it's really some really great results. So I adopted it first in the fall of 2020, and it was part of my COVID teaching solution, right? We were offering high flex classes, we were online, we were not. And now I have used it for 3 year-long PR courses and 1 summer PR session. That is how much I have enjoyed it. And not only that, my students have gotten a lot out of it. So over 225 students here at Duquesne have used this platform. And, I get a lot of 3Ls, I get a lot of 2Ls, some upperclassmen who, maybe some of you guys teach those folks. You have to do a lot to impress them and get them to be less crusty, right? 1Ls are so sweet and they're so willing to do a lot of new things. I get 0 complaints. In fact, what I get from my students, even my upperclassmen, are requests for more materials, more practice. So that is one of the reasons why I continue to employ connected quizzing. So here's how I use it. For the PR professional responsibility package, the problems are tied to the chapters that I am covering, which I love because we can talk about a model rule and then I can, give them these quizzes to test their knowledge and give them some facts to do some issue spotting. And I do not score them. And I know educators have different philosophies on this, but what I find is that my students actually do the work and they do it on time, and taking away that kind of, I have to worry about my score, I think really facilitates some deeper learning. And as you've seen with how the platform works, we can kind of tap into their natural competitive side by being able to compare themselves to how the class is doing, right? So there comes a point where I don't even have to urge them, their classmates are urging them as well. And so I also review the most missed, and that's why I really like the answer choices and how it shows me by percentages which ones my students got right and which areas of law they were missing. So we can bring these back up, and I have some examples in just a minute where I can walk through it together with them in class. And it really has been sparking some great discussions about some of the more complex and gray areas, particularly in the area of professional responsibility that I have used it in. I think additionally, connected quizzing with your casebook is a natural, together, right? With that formative assessment, you can assign it, don't have to grade it. And I think we're going to see with this new MBE product, I like that as well. We'll get that feedback, we'll get that practice. And for professional responsibility, we're preparing them for the MPRE, which is all multiple choice. The MBE is all multiple choice. So there's a lot of really good, I think, synergies happening here. One of the other special things that I have developed since I first started using connected quizzing is I request 2 sets of questions. And they're really great about producing this for me at the beginning of the year. I have 1 set, you guys saw the setup there, that I assign throughout the class keyed to the chapters. Then I have an entire second set, and I reserve this for final exam time, which my students are in right now. And and I know this sounds kind of like, well, I love teaching, so I'm about it, right? But my students actually ask me at the end of class, they're like, are you going to open connected quizzing? Are you going to open that again so we can practice? And I'm like, yes, we have this whole second set. So my students are really enjoying using that as they prepare for their summative assessment, the final exam. So I get kind of double use out of it, and I really like that. All right, here's just an example. This is a real class slide. So I'll bring out the most missed question. You can see in red, I've got, 13.7% got it correct. I mean, to me as an educator, that's like, hey, they don't get this. And it's one of those, confidentiality, some, 1.6b, some gray areas, some may, and it really sparks some great discussion. So we go through these during class. All right, same thing here, right? And, I also like how I can get it down to, it was equally split among this question or this question. And it gets students actually talking to each other about how they did and how they're performing. So I really, honestly, in this context, I can't speak highly enough about my use and my experience with connected quizzing. And obviously, if you don't believe me, take a look at the student feedback. These are some real student comments, completely unedited from my SESs, right? Don't get me started talking about SESs, but we use them. And this is what students have said. And this is what they've said in an anonymous context. So they had no reward to speak nicely about it, but and this is only a small percentage. Every semester I use this. I get students who are like, I love these quizzes, right? Maybe some of you right now have students who are like, do you have extra problems that I could have to practice? Well, this is so easy. Just plug, play, they do it, get the feedback, and you can also work through it together with them. All right, so let's talk briefly about the MBE course and how you could use this in your classes. So in addition to teaching professional responsibility, I also, as the director of bar studies here at Duquesne, teach a year-long bar prep class. I take the MBE topics and I divide them up. We do half of them the first semester, half of them the second semester. And and I know the bar exam, it says it's about minimal competence, but we know it is about speed, memorization, and practicing skills. So students cannot get enough of the MBE. And I don't know if you guys have you looked at the February MBE results or the last couple of administrations of the bar exam by the national conference. MBE scores across the country are at an all-time low. Now, there are many reasons for that we are just beyond the scope of our discussion here today, but what are we going to do about it? And so what I'm doing about it is giving them additional practice questions. It takes 1.8 minutes for them to read and answer a question. They need practice on that, right? So connected quizzing gives them that opportunity to practice under timed or untimed conditions until they get this skill down pat. Additionally, we know research shows us that students need to do between 800 and 1,000 MBE questions just to achieve kind of a low level of mastery. I prefer to set the benchmark for my students at 2,000 to 2,500 MBE questions. So having an extra resource like this is completely invaluable for them to practice, to get the answers, to self-assess. And then finally, there's some long-term and some recent research here too that tells us that unfortunately women and people of color tend to not perform as well on multiple choice exams, not because they are less qualified or less capable or have lower scores. It is simply having to do with a very complicated risk-taking set of thresholds and also some early training. So the more we can give these questions to these folks, the better they will perform on the exam. So just a reminder, as we know, actually Pennsylvania has just adopted the UBE, so it will be our first time going through that in July. So the MBE is that much more important because now it counts for 50% of their grade on the bar exam. 41 jurisdictions have adopted this. Maybe many of you are in UBE jurisdictions. So completing these MBE practice questions ahead of time before that intensive 10-week bar study course starts is going to be really important and can give your students a competitive edge on this critically important licensing exam. All right, so with that, I will turn it back over to Neil. Happy to talk, answer any questions you might have.
Now entered the Q&A portion of the webinar. As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please type it into the chat and I will read it to our presenters. It does look like we have a few questions already, so I'm going to get started with those. The first question that came in is, how do I adopt connected quizzing?
Well, I can answer that one. It's simple. You simply work with your sales rep. Your rep will complete some information and send it into our team, and we will set up your class. At that time, you will be notified with an email with instruction, an instructor's guide, and a note to students that will give you all the information your students need. It can be purchased by your students directly online. You can order in a bundle with a book,
Great, thank you,
or
Lisa.
an institution can adopt for all students.
The next question I have is, what happens once I choose to adopt connected quizzing?
And I'll do that again because it's kind of the same answer. As far as once you've chosen, we set up the course, we do all the work for you. You will simply have to inform your bookstore if you're doing any kind of book bundle. If you're working with an administration for institutional, we will work with your sales rep to have all the details worked out. So
Okay,
it's
thank you.
really very simple. Once you've chosen to
At this
adopt,
time, I just want to
we do
remind
all the
our
work.
audience, if you would like to ask a question, you can use the chat feature to the right of the screen. Just type it in and I will read it aloud. The next question I have is, where do I go to see what courses are available in connected quizzing?
I have your sales reps at the top of my brain here. They can help you with that. They can provide a list, but it's also available on our website, the aspenpublishing.com, under programs. There is a page
Thank you.
for
And I think
connected quizzing that
what we can do is share that
all
in the chat
available courses.
right at the end. So the next question I have, Ashley, this one's for you. As a bar director, how do you see this? How do you see connected quizzing as a useful resource for students trying to prep for the bar?
So I think that's a really good question. I briefly mentioned about having additional practice questions. And I have to say, you know, with students, especially who are struggling with the MBE, the commercial bar prep course number of MBE questions just might not be enough, right? So adding this to their bar prep package, I think is fantastic. You can assign additional questions every single day to key to their the topic that they're on. Maybe I did not mention this before, but I also like this to use as a diagnostic as well for my year-long classes. So you use it in the first semester, the 100 questions, and then use it again the second semester. And that's a really nice way to measure student progress. And what I've seen is being able to show students their progress from that first one they take until the last one. It's a good way to send them off into bar study, having already felt like and earned
I
their
do have
success.
one more question in the chat at this time. I'll also remind our audience that if you do have any additional questions that you want to ask, please feel free to add them into the chat feature. We will keep the platform open for a few minutes after the webinar has ended, and any questions that come in during that time will be circulated to our presenters, and we will get back to you with answers within 24 hours. And the last question I have here is, can connected quizzing be implemented with flexibility?
I'll go ahead and speak to that. I spoke to it for a minute in my one slide, but yes, it's actually a very flexible resource, which is why it's so well liked and so well used. There's the question bank, but you can take advantage of the Quiz Concierge if you'd like to help you or assist you putting quizzes together. You can do, 20 quizzes with 10 questions throughout the semester, throughout the course. You can do the 2 preset 100 questions a piece, the 2 quizzes that are already created for you. You can do one of those at the beginning, one at the end. You can utilize it in any way that works out for the way that you teach the course. So it's extremely flexible, and we're always here to help in terms of, customization and implementation.
So I don't see any more questions in the Q&A at the moment. I would like to hand it back over to Ashley for any final remarks.
So, I would just say this is such an easy way to increase student learning and student satisfaction. I mean, I think the added bonus to that is, of course, you're meeting the ABA standards, but
Okay.
it really helps students
thank you all again for your
master the
presentation
material.
today. Today's
Thank you.
webinar has now ended. Thank you for attending, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.